Alright, today we got a Spider-Man movie tier list. First up, we got the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire in the leading role. It's probably S tier. Spider-Man 2, S tier. We're going to drop Spider-Man 1 down to A tier. Spider-Man 3, clear D tier. Not as bad as people make it out to be, but it is terrible. The Amazing Spider-Man, definitely I'd say definitely a B tier. It just doesn't exactly work. Andrew Garfield is too good looking and too cool. Um, I just feel like there's something missing. Like if you're gonna have this really cool Spider-Man, which they might not have like done intentionally, there should at least be a reason for it. And I just feel like there kind of isn't. And they used like a weird, just the villain left a lot to be desired. Amazing Spider-Man 2 almost has this like B movie charm. Like it's so dumb that it's almost funny. My coworker recently pointed out that Electro early on does like a area of effect type of move. He does like an explosion of electricity, and then later on in the movie he's like directly throwing lightning bolts at Spider-Man. And like, why would you use targeted attacks towards a guy who is the best of like almost any fictional character of at dodging direct attacks? Use your area of effect move, please. And then he also pointed out some a funny thing in Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2. I think The Amazing Spider-Man 2 has to be in D tier, so it's basically competing for last against Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 3 at least has a little bit more of that ridiculous charm with its really weird Venom and its really weird like emo Spider-Man. Like I saw that in theaters and it was so crazy. Like he's snapping his fingers and he's emo and he's like talking up these ladies, and it's just so insane that it's entertaining. I don't know how that could have happened. I don't know how like anything in that movie could have happened. I don't know how they could have cast somebody to play Venom who is smaller than the guy who's playing Spider-Man. And like even the character, right? Like you think of um times where they've made short actors look large, right? Like Tom Cruise, even Sly Stallone. These guys who are like aren't that tall, but they look real big in their leading roles, and they got this tiny little Venom. I don't know. And then to have Venom have to kind of play like second fiddle to like the Sandman. Like the Sandman is way cooler in that movie. but it's Venom. Like Venom. It is movie Venom. This is the first time we got like a movie Venom. And like there's a reason that there's two Venom movies today. Is because people care about Venom. And you just don't utilize them. Like it's crazy. To me it's as crazy as to what they did with Deadpool in X-Men Origins Wolverine. Because Venom's huge, right? Like yeah, today Deadpool is as big as a character as Spider-Man, probably. Well, not really. No, Spider-Man's still a much bigger character, much bigger superhero, bigger fan base, and like a key villain to Spider-Man is Venom. So like you maybe should care to do it right. I don't know what happened with the production of that movie, but they did Venom dirty, real dirty. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, definitely S tier. I will rearrange S tier once I get there. I would put Across the Spider-Verse, which isn't an option here on this list. Across the Spider-Verse, I would say A tier. Probably below the Sam Raimi's first Spider-Man. I like the cliffhanger ending, but it kind of was a weird spot to put a cliffhanger. Like, I wish they would have titled it Part 1 or something if it can't exist without a Part 2. You know what I mean? Like, I know that kind of like takes away the like coolness and subverting of expectations of the cliffhanger ending, but it kind of just doesn't feel right in Across the Spider-Verse, the cliffhanger. I don't know. It was a weird choice to do that. Spider-Man Homecoming, this will be controversial, but it's definitely better than Spider-Man. It clearly is in my mind. Spider-Man Far From Home, I think, is right behind it. It's not as good as Homecoming, but it's exceptional. It is really, really cool in a way that the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is not. I think the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man gets way too much credit. The first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, of course, is it's a good movie. It's a good representation. For the time, it was awesome. But even for the time, like, I was literally a kid when I first saw it. I actually saw it before it was released in theaters here, as it was released in other countries that didn't remove the Twin Towers. So I saw like the version with the Twin Towers that they just went ahead and released in like Japan or wherever. Like, I saw a bootleg of that before this movie was even released in theaters. Like, my classmates didn't believe me, but I did, and like, that alone was incredibly cool. And I had a million reasons to want to like that movie, but even as a kid, I was like, this isn't what superhero movies will become. Like, I felt like I knew for sure that they could do a better job, which is crazy, right? That me, with being a kid where I had way less of an understanding than I do now of like filmmaking and limitations and what's going on, that I still knew that one day we would reach the heights of even Spider-Man 2, Across the Spider-Verse, and our final placement in S tier, Spider-Man No Way Home. Oh my god, is that movie awesome. So it really becomes a balancing act here in the S tier. Which which one's best, right? All of three of these are just incredible, incredible Spider-Man movies. Now, I love Spider-Man 2. I saw it in theaters. Really cool movie. Probably the best we'll ever get of a very straightforward, classic Spider-Man movie. I don't see us ever getting one that's any better, but that's kind of that's what at the time a superhero movie could be, right? Like, that's near the highest. Well, maybe that's an understatement, or maybe I'm overstating that, because what year was this movie released? I'll look it up. Spider-Man 2, 2004. So that was 4 years before The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight's way better than Spider-Man 2. Let's be honest here. So even I, like I said, like, I knew that superhero movies would get to the point where they're actually like the animated superhero movies, and TV shows, right? Like the 90s had all these awesome cartoons where you had where they properly balanced the villains in a way that the comic books can do, right? Obviously, it's much easier in a comic book and in a cartoon than doing it in live action because you have to pay these actors to play these characters, and it's not easy, right? Like representing the Green Goblin in the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man is difficult, right? He's got a costume. You have to have an actor who can deliver an awesome performance, and you have to pay that actor what they deserve, right? Which is why look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe, look at the DCEU, where you have these actors making humongous money. That's because these movies are absolute smashing blockbuster successes, which me as a kid, I knew they would eventually be. I knew these cartoons are some of the greatest shows that have ever been made of any shows in existence. And that would eventually find its way to work itself out into live action movie form.
I'd like to taste a real Italian coffee, please.
So I feel like I feel like I got a place at the bottom of S tier. Spider-Man 2, it's awesome. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's just not as good as the what's above it. Now, what's above it is Spider-Man No Way Home. Spider-Man No Way Home has it just has more Spider-Man in a really cool way. It has Doctor Strange. It balances villains in a really good way by not wasting too much time on any single one of them, making them good representations, right? Like the Green Goblin in Spider-Man No Way Home is awesome. Electro is awesome. They fix Electro. Not only do they fix Electro, they fix the entire Amazing Spider-Man universe, right? Like the Amazing Spider-Man 2 runs into the same issue that Spider-Man 3 has, where they cram in too many villains, things are too rushed, you don't care about anything that's happening. And the biggest issue with that is what happens at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2 is Gwen Stacy, who knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, loses her life. Well, guess what? In Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange brings back to life people who know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, including Electro, including the reptile guy from the first Amazing Spider-Man, and of course Gwen Stacy. It doesn't show it in the film, but it blatantly alludes to her being back to life. Again, I've said this before, look at everything that Andrew Garfield, particularly his interactions directly with Tobey Maguire in that movie. There's a clear redemption going on, and the reward for gaining that redemption that he does in the movie is Gwen Stacy coming back to life. Because just like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were wandering around aimlessly trying to figure out what's going on, that's exactly what Gwen Stacy would be doing, right? She was brought back to life by that spell, didn't know where she was or what was going on, and guess what? She was brought back to her original universe along with Andrew Garfield, along with Electro, and she's back alive. And they fixed that. Think of how crazy it is, of how severely they fixed the Amazing Spider-Man franchise in the Marvel Cinematic Universe film, right? And not only that, they do what was super awesome. At the end of the film, Tom Holland is in a classic Spider-Man costume. He gives up on all this Tobey Maguire stuff, and it sets itself up to build even more. It was just, they did everything right. I don't even begin to see how they could have done a better job of that movie. Like it rocked my freaking socks off. The only thing that rocked my socks off more is Into the Spider-Verse. Oh my god, is Into the Spider-Verse amazing. Just disgustingly good. Absolutely disgustingly good. The portrayal of Spider-Man is great. The portrayal of Miles Morales is even better. Just ridiculously good. Disgustingly good. It's basically a crime that anybody has not seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Go see it. Watch its sequel as well. Its sequel isn't as good, but Into the Spider-Verse is really great. Probably, maybe even, I would say the only like Marvel film that comes close is like Infinity War and Endgame. Like these Avengers top top of MCU movies, right? Like I would maybe put Infinity War and like the first Guardians of the Galaxy up against Into the Spider-Verse. Into the Spider-Verse is in like pretty much a different league than the rest of these films. But No Way Home and Spider-Man 2 I think deserve to be S tier, and I'm being very generous to place them next to Into the Spider-Verse. Which superhero should I tackle next? I don't know if there's all that many that have as many movie appearances. Maybe Wolverine. That would be a cool one. I love Wolverine as a character. Maybe we'll do that one.